This is a really easy one to start with. Safe Harbour has all these principles about notice and consent. 400 companies between 2008 and 2009 didn't even have privacy policy. It's not something that required enforcement action because the Department of Commerce, after some initial denials that this even existed as an issue, but eventually they sort of came round, just started writing to these companies and saying, you must have a privacy policy, this is crazy. They also introduced a review step when you apply for Safe Harbour, which says, where is your privacy policy? And by 2013, this issue has completely disappeared, so we can call that one resolved. If only they were all as simple as that. The second issue, and I will talk about this one in a little bit of detail, is false claims by former members of a Safe Harbour. So what happens here is that someone joins a Safe Harbour, a year or two later they don't rejoin, you have to renew every year, but their privacy policies, their surveys, their documentation, etc., all still say, oh, we're Safe Harbour members, trust us, give us your European data, etc. And there are a lot of cases of this type of behaviour. I went back through all of my notes between 2008 and 2015. There's over 600 cases that have been reported to the US authorities of this type of false claim, and the amount sort of goes up and down each year. This is an area where there has been a lot of enforcement activity. The FTC has to date settled 22 cases. There may or may not be more coming. That's one of the issues I'm not sure about. The longest false claim was 8 years. So a company was claiming it was a Safe Harbour member for 8 years to its consumers after it had actually lapsed. And the average is about 3 years of the enforced cases. The average is slightly lower of the reported cases, it's about 2.5 years. I've just got a little sentence here, no specific sanctions imposed. I'll come back to that, I promise. That's a massive statement to make. But there are no what I'll call specific sanctions in relation to this particular type of breach. But we'll discuss that in much more detail later. Behind the scenes, this is probably the area of the greatest amount of activity by the Department of Commerce. They've gone right back through their records and they've written to everyone who was ever a Safe Harbour member who's still claiming to be a Safe Harbour member and contacting them. So it's one of those issues that behind the scenes, yes, huge amount of activity, publicly only, but 22 cases. I'm calling this one resolved because I'm sort of optimistic that finally, after 15 years of arguing about it, people are taking this one seriously. The next issue is very similar, but it's false claims by companies who've never been members of a Safe Harbour. So it's not like they were members and they've lapsed. This is just basic fraud. It's just a privacy policy that says, we're members of Safe Harbour, trust us, give us your data. They've never joined, they probably never will. Again, going back through my notes, I've reported over 700 cases of this, but the vast majority of those have been only in the last couple of years. So it's like a recent sort of trend. Enforcement, there has been one case, it was a long time ago, back in 2009, that's the balls of kryptonite case. It's not a particularly interesting or revealing case, but how often do you get to say the words balls of kryptonite in a privacy law conference? So yeah, I thought I'd include that one. This is one of those issues where the authorities are aware of the scale and the significance of the issue, but I can't say and they can't say what's happening about this, so I'm giving it a pending. It's a really important issue. If this pending doesn't become a resolved, then that has a significant undermining effect on the integrity of the Safe Harbour. And when you combine these 700 cases and the rump of the previous category of false claims, you're talking about 20% of public Safe Harbour claims are false. Right? So, is that sustainable, having 1 in 5 Safe Harbour claims that are false?